Hello, and welcome to Live Parkinson's, Live an Exceptional Life. I'm your host, Chris Custenbotter, and I've been living an exceptional life with Parkinson's for the past 14 years. The mission of this podcast is to help as many people as possible living with Parkinson's lead a great quality of life. Now, today's episode is Eat Smart, Think Sharp, Essential Nutrients for Cognitive Health in Parkinson's. Imagine feeling sharper, clearer, and more in control of your thinking, even with Parkinson's. Today's episode dives into the essential nutrients that can make a real difference in your cognitive health. I'll be open and honest with you. Dementia runs in my family, so I'm always concerned with cognitive decline. When I have trouble remembering things or tasks, is it because of cognitive decline leading to dementia or just part of the aging process? So, I do as much as possible to challenge my brain during exercise by counting forward and backward, counting by different numbers, and I try to do a lot of reading and problem-solving games. Because I struggle with my weight, I've been doing a lot of research on nutrition and different diet programs. In fact, I recently did several podcasts on the Mediterranean and MIND diets to help me improve motor symptoms and non-motor symptoms in Parkinson's. However, as part of my research, I began seeing a trend in specific nutrient categories that can have a beneficial effect on brain health. The more I learned about these specific nutrient categories and their benefits to brain health, the more important it became for me to include them in my diet plan. In today's episode, I wanted to share what I've learned so that if you're concerned about cognitive decline because of Parkinson's, you can ask your doctor if incorporating these nutrient categories in your diet are appropriate for you based on your specific needs and treatment plan. So without further ado, let's discuss what we'll be covering in this episode. We'll start by demystifying the brain. I'll briefly explain the brain structure and function in layman's terms, of course. We aren't going too deep into detail on the medulla oblongata, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, as part of this brief overview, I'll briefly mention the key brain processes crucial for memory, focus, learning, and our mood. So that way you'll be able to impress your friends and family with your knowledge of the brain. Not enough to answer the tough questions on Jeopardy, though. Then we'll move on to discuss food as fuel and explain how nutrients from food provide the building blocks and energy for the brain to function at optimal levels. I'll very briefly discuss the blood-brain barrier and its role in delivering nutrients to the brain. Then we'll transition into the meat and potatoes of today's topic and discuss the essential brain nutrients, which we'll call the Powerhouse 5, where I'll discuss the 5 key nutrient categories for brain health. Then I'll provide some brain-boosting extras, some additional nutrients that may be beneficial for your brain health. Then we'll roll on to discuss building a brain-healthy diet and then close it all out with some lifestyle habits for a healthy brain. Now, it's important for me to note that I'm not a registered nutritionist or dietitian. I do have a bachelor's degree in biology and have taken several college nutrition courses. So what I'm sharing with you today is strictly based on my personal research. It's important that you discuss any dietary changes with your doctor to ensure that they are appropriate for your specific health needs. Certified nutritionists can also help provide additional information as well. All right, are you ready to begin our journey looking at nutrients and brain health? Then let's get started. Let's imagine we're all sitting in an anatomy class and we're studying the brain. I like to make things simple, so let's take our brain and break it down into the basic structures. Now, believe it or not, the human brain is the most complex organ in the body. It's responsible for controlling everything from our thoughts and emotions to our movements and even our senses. So, let's break this organ down into its 3 main parts. Part number 1 is the cerebrum, and that's the largest part of the brain, making up about 2/3 of the brain's weight. And the cerebrum is divided into 2 hemispheres, the left and right, which are connected by a bunch of nerve bundles called the corpus callosum. Now, you've probably heard people say that I'm right-brained or I'm left-brained, so they're talking about the cerebrum. Now, the wrinkled outer part of the brain that you see in all the pictures is called the cerebral cortex, and that's where we have most of our higher-order functions, believe it or not, like thinking, planning, and problem solving. That's where they take place in that wrinkly cerebral cortex. The surface of the cortex is divided into lobes with specialized functions. Now, I'm sharing this because you may have heard about some of these lobes, like the frontal lobe, and that's associated with planning, decision making, personality, and movement. And then you have the parietal lobe, which is involved in processing touch, spatial awareness, and navigation. Now, just a quick side story. Since having Parkinson's, whenever I'm in a dark place with very little light, and I'll give you an example, especially when I'm at my cabin in the mountains and we go for a walk and we're coming back and it's getting dark and becomes very dark because there's, of course, no lights. And before someone turns on a flashlight, I freeze and I don't move because I lose my spatial awareness. And I can't get started again until someone turns the light on. Now, I don't know if any of you experience the same problem. If you do, let me know. I'd love to hear your story. But as you know, if I'm standing there with no light, I just feel like I don't know what's around me, and I can't move because of lack of spatial awareness. But I digress. Moving on to the occipital lobe, which is responsible for our vision, and then rounding it out is the temporal lobe, which processes hearing, memory, and some aspects of our language. Now, the second part of the brain that you may have heard of as well is the cerebellum, which is located at the back of the brain. And the cerebellum is responsible for coordinating movement, balance, and posture. Those of us that have Parkinson's are well aware of some of the functions of the cerebellum. And the final part of the brain is the brain stem, which connects the brain to the spinal cord and is responsible for basic life functions like breathing, heart rate, and digestion. That's why people who have been in accidents or suffer traumatic brain trauma can be in such serious trouble if there's damage to the brainstem. Now, let's talk briefly about some of the functions of this squishy piece of the gray matter protected by our skull, the brain. So what does it really do? What's its function? Well, one is its sensation and perception. The brain receives information from the body's sensory organs, eyes, ears, nose, taste buds, and skin, and then interprets these into sensations like seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. So if you recognize those are our five senses. So the brain's involved with taking stimulus from our taste buds, eyes, ears, nose, and skin, and then converting that into what we know as our five senses. Movement. The brain controls all voluntary movements from walking and talking to written and even playing an instrument. Thought and language. The brain allows us to think, reason, solve problems, and form memories. It also enables us to understand and use language for communication. Language and memory. The brain is constantly learning and framing new memories. I like to think of it as a computer that can store vast amounts of information and then retrieve it whenever we need it. Emotion and regulation. The brain plays a crucial role in processing emotions like happiness, sadness, anger, and fear. And it also helps us to regulate our behavior in response to these emotions. And then the final piece is homeostasis. And the brain helps maintain the body's internal balance by regulating things like our body temperature, our blood pressure, and our sleep-wake cycles. So, the body wants to keep itself in a state of homeostasis or imbalance. Our bodies don't like to become unbalanced. So that's the basic overview of the brain and its functions. And feel free to look like a genius on your next trivia night with friends and family, because you'll be able to answer all the questions on the brain now. Now let's turn our attention to food as fuel for the brain. Now let's imagine your brain is a giant city. It has millions of busy citizens, which are the brain cells, that need the right resources to function well. These citizens, or brain cells, need two things to function well: building blocks and energy. And that's where the food we eat comes in. In terms of building blocks, think of food like a huge box of Legos, and when you eat, your body breaks down the food into smaller pieces like proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and they're commonly known as the macronutrients. These macronutrients are like individual Lego pieces, and then the brain cells use these pieces to build and repair themselves, as well as create important messengers called neurotransmitters. Now, different nutrients provide different types of building blocks. Proteins are the basic building blocks for everything in your body, including your brain cells. Healthy fats, like olive oil, are crucial for building the brain cell membranes, which helps them communicate with each other. Now, in terms of energy, just like any city needs power to keep the lights on, your brain cells needs energy to function. And this energy comes from a type of sugar called glucose, which many of you may have heard of, especially if you know someone who is diabetic. Your body gets its energy from carbohydrates in food, which converts to glucose. So if you eat a piece of bread, which has it's a carbohydrate and has starch, it breaks that down into sugar, which is glucose, and then glucose acts like the fuel for your brain. And the glucose allows you to send messages, process information, and keep everything running smoothly. Now, while all foods provide some building blocks and energy, some choices are better than others for brain health. Opting for complex carbohydrates like whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, they provide a steady supply of glucose, while simple carbs, sugary drinks, pastries, donuts, cupcakes, they give a quick burst of glucose followed by a crash. So you might have heard of these glucose spikes, and then why people, crash in the afternoon is because they get this big shot of glucose and then boom, then they crash. So choosing healthy foods, like I mentioned, and choosing healthy fats like those found in fish, nuts, and avocados support brain health and communication. So essentially, the foods you eat provide the essential building blocks and energy your brain cells need to function at their very best. Now, keeping your brain operating smoothly, I want to briefly mention the blood-brain barrier and its role in helping to deliver nutrients to the brain. Now, the blood-brain barrier acts like a security checkpoint between your bloodstream and your brain. Because if we just let anything through, you could get a brain infection or, some other type of thing that depending on what's in your bloodstream. Now, it's a highly selective barrier made up of tightly packed cells that control what gets in the brain and what gets out of the brain. So, why is it there? Now, the brain is a very large and delicate organ, and it needs protection from harmful substances that may be circulating in the blood, like toxins or bacteria. Now, the blood-brain barrier helps to keep these bad things out. So how does it affect nutrients from the food you eat? Well, since the blood-brain barrier's role is protecting the brain, it makes it trickier to get nutrients into the brain. So not everything can just pass through freely into the brain. Now, the essential nutrients. The blood-brain barrier has specific transporters that allow nutrients like glucose, again for energy, and amino acids, which are building blocks for protein, and certain fats for cell health to pass through. Ones with limited access are your larger molecules, and some unwanted substances generally can't get past this blood-brain barrier. This is why delivering certain medications to the brain can be challenging. Overall, the blood-brain barrier plays a crucial role in maintaining a healthy brain environment. It allows necessary nutrients to enter into the brain, but keeping out potential threats, again, like bacteria and toxins. All right, now that we've have an understanding of the basic structure and function of the brain and food as fuel, let's get into the meat and potatoes and discuss essential brain nutrients. And we'll talk about the Powerhouse 5. So let's start by introducing the 5 nutrient categories for brain health and then go into more detail on each one. Does that sound fair? All right. Let's introduce the Powerhouse 5 of essential brain nutrients. Starting off, the Powerhouse 5 is omega-3 fatty acids, including DHA and EPA, followed by B vitamins, B12, B6, and folate. Coming in at number 3 is choline, followed closely behind by number 4, antioxidants, and then rounding out the Powerhouse 5 are healthy fats, which are unsaturated fats. So they're the Powerhouse 5. All right, let's dive in and take a deeper look into the function and roles and benefits of the Powerhouse 5 and for these 5 key nutrient categories for brain health. So let's start with number 1, omega-3 fatty acids. And again, I mentioned DHA and EPA. And you may have seen these on some of the packaging, so we'll talk about those and what they are in just a second. All right, now before we go any further, you're probably thinking, I've heard of them, I might have seen them, but what are they? I mean, it sounds like a bunch of alphabet soup, doesn't it? DHA, EPA. Now, I always wanted to know what we were talking about so I can follow along. So, DHA is doxahexanoic acid, and it's a brain power booster and is often called a brain building fat because it is the most abundant fatty acid in the brain. It's particularly concentrated in the cell membranes. And DHA plays a key role in brain cell development, function, and communication. It supports memory, learning, and overall cognitive health. So, what are the benefits of DHAs? While studies suggest sufficient DHA levels may be linked to better cognitive function, reduced risk of age-related decline, and even possible protective effects against Alzheimer's disease. Now, most researchers recommend that healthy adults consume a minimum of 500 milligrams of combined DHA and EPA daily. So foods like salmon and shrimp are good sources of DHA and EPA. So now let's talk about EPA, which is icosapentaenoic acid. Whew, that's a tongue twister. EPA sometimes gets the moniker anti-inflammatory champion because it's known for its anti-inflammatory properties. Inflammation can play a role in various health conditions. Now, some researchers suggest that EPA may help reduce inflammation throughout the body. Now, while EPA is not concentrated in the brain, it may still play a role in brain health. Some studies suggest EPA may be helpful in managing symptoms of anxiety and depression. EPA is also found in cold water fish, including salmon, tuna, mackerel, sardines, shellfish, and herring. So don't be afraid to dig into that can of sardines. All right, now that we know what DHA and EPA are and their benefits, let's look at omega-3 fatty acids' effect on brain health. Now, according to the article, Best Sources of Omega-3 Fatty Acids by the Cleveland Clinic, they state that omega-3 fatty acids are unsaturated fatty acids that your body can't effectively produce or produce at all. Now, they're important for heart health as well as brain and eye health. Now, the article states that there are 3 types of omega-3 fatty acids. The first one is alpha linolenic acid, ALA, which is found in plant sources like canola oil, flaxseed, and walnuts. DHA and EPA are the other 2, which we've already discussed, and are found in fish and fish oil. According to the article, DHA and EPA are your best ways to get omega-3 fatty acids. They note that your body has to convert alpha linolenic acid to DHA and EPA, and that process isn't the most efficient. Now, the USDA recommends that adults get 8 ounces of oily fish per week, which equates to about 250 milligrams of omega-3s. However, it is important to note to talk to your doctor about any dietary changes or supplements to ensure they're appropriate for your specific health needs. So, what are the benefits of omega-3 fatty acids on the brain? Well, in a clinical study called The Effects of Omega-3 Polyunsaturated Fatty Acids on Brain Function, a Systemic Review, published in the journal Cureus, that's Cureus, the authors state that our results revealed that supplementing with omega-3 fatty acids seems to alter cognitive processes in humans. Intense supplementation with omega-3 fatty acids has been shown to improve mental performance. Now, the authors also stated that the results demonstrate that with EPA supplementation, individuals' brains display a higher cognitive performance. On the contrary, the increase in functional induction and the absence of progress in cognitive performance after DHA may demonstrate that DHA is much less helpful than EPA in improving neurocognitive functioning. The authors conclude by stating that assumption of omega-3s improved learning, memory, ability, cognitive well-being, and blood flow in the brain. The FDA recommends consuming 3 grams of omega-3 daily with dietary supplements that deliver up to 2 grams per day. Now, as discussed, please consult your doctor before making any dietary changes or supplement changes. So, as you can see, omega-3s are going to play a key role in helping with brain health. Now, moving on to our second nutrient category in the Powerhouse 5, let's introduce you to the B vitamins, B12, B6, and folate. Now, let's look at this B vitamin trio in a little more detail. Vitamin B12. Now, that plays a crucial role in nerve function and red blood cell production. Brain benefits of vitamin B12. B12 deficiency has been linked to many problems, confusion, and even dementia. Adequate B12 levels are crucial for maintaining healthy nerve cells and promoting cognitive function. B12 is primarily found in animal products like fish, meat, poultry, dairy, and eggs. Fortified cereals and plant-based milks like oat milk or soy milk can also be good sources of vitamin B12. Vitamin B6 is involved in many bodily processes, including energy metabolism and neurotransmitter production. Ooh, that sounds intriguing. Brain benefits. B6 is crucial for the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which play a role in our mood, memory, and learning. And we also know, those of us living with Parkinson's, that dopamine is also involved in controlling our movements. And B6 is found in a variety of foods, including fish, poultry, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and some fruits and vegetables. And then finally, folate, which is vitamin B9, and that's an essential vitamin for DNA synthesis and cell division. Folate plays a role in maintaining a healthy brain function throughout our lifetime. Deficiencies in folate can be linked to an increased risk of cognitive decline in adults. Folate is naturally found in leafy green vegetables, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and some fruit. Now, many fortified foods like cereals and flour are also enriched with folic acid, which is a synthetic form of folate. All right, now let's look at some of the clinical study findings on B vitamins and brain health. First one is homeocysteine levels. High blood levels of homeocysteine and amino acid have been linked to an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Studies suggest that vitamin B, particularly B12 and folate, can help lower homeocysteine levels, potentially reducing the risk of cognitive decline. However, the evidence is not conclusive and more research is needed. Now, in an article, B6, B12, and folate, Cognitive Vitality for Researchers by the Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation, they reported that a double-blind, randomized clinical trial found that vitamin B supplementation, 0.8 of a milligram of folate, 0.5 milligram of B12, 20 milligrams of B6 for 2 years, lowered plasma homeocysteine levels by 30% and stabilized executive functions in patients with mild cognitive impairment aged 70 years and above. Now, in terms of cognitive function, some studies suggest that vitamin B supplementation may benefit cognitive function in older adults, especially those with mild cognitive impairment. Now, however, these benefits may not be universal, and further research is needed to determine the long-term effects. Now, it is important to remember that whole B vitamins are essential for brain health. They're just one piece of the puzzle. Please make sure to consult your doctor before starting any vitamin B supplementation. All right, moving on to our third brain health powerhouse category, I'd like to introduce you to choline. Wait, what? A chemical is a brain health powerhouse? Well, yeah, so what exactly is choline? Well, according to a healthline.com article, What is Choline? An Essential Nutrient with Many Benefits by Mary Jane Brown, PhD and registered dietitian, she states that choline is an essential nutrient, meaning that it's required for normal bodily functions and health. Now, where your liver can produce small amounts, you must obtain a majority of choline through your diet. Choline is water soluble, meaning it's going to dissolve in water, but it is neither a vitamin nor a mineral. The author notes that it is often grouped with the B vitamin complex due to its similarities. However, the article notes that choline impacts liver function, healthy brain development, muscle development, and nervous system and metabolism. Now, the author points out an interesting fact about choline. It was only acknowledged as a required nutrient by the Institute of Medicine in 1998, so not that long ago. So, how does choline impact brain health? Well, according to the article, large observational studies link choline intake and blood levels to improvement in brain function, including better memory and processing. Now, the two studies were the first one is the relation of dietary choline to cognitive performance and white matter hyperintensity in the Framingham offspring cohort. And that was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And I'll put these in the podcast description. And no, they won't be on the test, so you don't have to worry about taking notes on that. Just kidding. Plasma-free choline, biotin, and cognitive performance, the Hordaland Health Study. It was also published in the British Journal of Nutrition. And both of these articles are available in case you need some light reading right before bedtime. Now, in another study, acetylcholine improves verbal memory in aging, and that was published in the Archives of Neurology. And the researchers found that supplementing with 1,000 milligrams per day led to short and long-term verbal memory in adults aged 50 to 85 who had previously had poor memory. So, where do we get choline? Well, based on the article, choline can be obtained from a variety of foods and supplements. The richest dietary sources of choline include beef and chicken livers, everyone's favorite, I'm sure, eggs, fresh cod, salmon, cauliflower, broccoli, and soybean oil. See? So you have a lot of different choices. A single egg provides 20 to 25% of your daily requirement, and 2 large eggs is going to give you almost half of your choline daily requirement. So why is it important that we get choline in our diet? And why is it considered one of the powerhouses for brain health? Well, first, according to the Healthline.com article, choline is required to produce acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter that plays an important role in our memory, mood, and intelligence. Now, based on the data from the Framingham study that we cited earlier. It's also needed for the process that synthesizes DNA, which is important for brain function and development. All right, we're just clicking away the chart toppers of our Powerhouse 5 nutrient categories, and we're already up to number 4, which are antioxidants. So what are antioxidants? Well, they're molecules that play a crucial role in protecting our cells from damage caused by free radicals. Ooh, sounds scary. Which are unstable molecules generated during the normal metabolic process or due to environmental factors like air pollution or exposure to smoke. When free radicals interact with our cells, it can lead to oxidative stress, which is associated with an increased risk of chronic diseases. So we want to try to cut down on oxidative stress by getting rid of the free radicals or having something bind to the free radicals so that we can neutralize them. So the primary function of antioxidants is to neutralize these free radicals before they harm our cells. So let's look at common antioxidants and where you can find them. Leading off the list is vitamin C, and that's found in broccoli, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, bell peppers, tomatoes, and citrus fruits like lemon and limes and oranges. Vitamin E, which can be found in almonds, avocado, sunflower seeds, oatmeal, and then legumes. And legumes are beans, lentils, and split peas. I love split pea soup. I'm not going to lie about it. And vitamin E is a fat soluble vitamin. So keep that in mind. It will be stored, excess is stored in the fat tissue. Beta carotene, which is found in apricots, cantaloupe, mangoes, carrots, grapefruit, and bell peppers. And finally, selenium, which is available in eggs, tuna, salmon, brown rice, and onions, and various vegetables. An easy way to ensure you're getting enough antioxidants is to aim for a rainbow diet. So you want to consume as many fruits and vegetables as you can of different colors. So do greens and reds and oranges and yellows. And when you do that, you'll get a well-balanced diet with the necessary amount of antioxidants. Now, you can also find antioxidants in coffee and tea. So you can enjoy those delicious beverages hot or cold. So, how are antioxidants involved in brain health? Well, vitamins C and E are readily available and may help protect against cognitive decline and dementia. Flavonoids found in fruits, vegetables, and cocoa may improve memory and cognitive function, especially in older adults. Carotenoids, which include beta carotene, which we talked about earlier, and include carrots, cantaloupe, and mangoes, they may support cognitive function and protect against dementia. Research on antioxidants and brain health is ongoing, but here's what we know so far. Studies show a link between higher antioxidant intake and better cognitive function in older adults. Diets rich in antioxidant foods like fruits and vegetables may offer some protection against age-related cognitive decline and neurodegenerative disease, which, of course, as we know, Parkinson's is one of those. While some studies suggest benefits from specific antioxidants supplements, others have shown mixed results. So you want to consult your healthcare professional before taking any supplements to ensure they're appropriate for your needs and they don't interact with your current medication regimen. So the key takeaway with the antioxidants is they're not an unlikely cure-all for brain health, but they can be a powerful tool for supporting brain health throughout your life. So eat those fruits and vegetables. And then last but not least in our Powerhouse 5 nutrient category are healthy fats, unsaturated fats. Now, the types of unsaturated fats includes monounsaturated fat, which comes from sources like seeds, nuts and olive oil, avocado and seafood, and polyunsaturated fats, especially omega-3s, which we discussed earlier, and they're crucial for brain function and cognition. Diets like the Mediterranean and MIND diets are higher in monounsaturated fats that positively impact brain chemistry, which enhances our learning, slows our cognitive decline, and reduces Alzheimer's risk, according to the article, Dietary Fats That Improve Brain Function, that was published in psychologytoday.com by Dr. Gary Week. Now, the benefits of unsaturated fats include that they're beneficial for all cell membrane health. Unsaturated fats like DHA are crucial components of brain cell membrane, for which healthy membranes are crucial because they provide efficient communication between the brain cells. So if you don't have healthy cell membranes, it's going to make communication much more difficult. In terms of cognitive function, studies suggest that diets rich in unsaturated fats, particularly monounsaturated and omega-3s, may help to improve memory, learning, and overall cognitive function, and may protect against age-related cognitive decline and dementia. Mood regulation. Unsaturated fats may play a role in mood regulation. Some studies suggest they may be helpful in managing symptoms of anxiety and depression. Studies consistently show a link between diets rich in unsaturated fats and improved cognitive function. So, add some olive oil and avocados to your salad. Eat a handful of nuts to help ensure you're getting enough healthy fats. All right, so that's the Powerhouse 5 for brain health. So try to include these in your diet. As promised at the beginning, 2 bonus nutrients for brain health include curcumin and creatine. Curcumin is the active compound in turmeric, which is a bright yellow spice commonly used in curries and Asian cuisine. Now, research on curcumin is ongoing in terms of brain health, but some evidence does suggest it may possess anti-inflammatory properties, potentially reducing inflammation that may contribute to cognitive decline. It may also improve neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. These studies are largely preliminary, and more research is needed to confirm the curcumin's benefits for brain health. Now, if you like turmeric, cook with it in curries, stews, or scrambled eggs. Adding a pinch of black pepper to your turmeric dishes because pepper contains pepperin, which helps to significantly increase curcumin's absorption. And the other bonus one is creatine, and that's a naturally occurring molecule found in muscle cells, and it's also produced by the body. Research on creatine and brain health is limited, with some studies suggesting that it may improve cognitive function in healthy adults and older adults with mild cognitive decline. There may be a benefit for memory and learning. More research is needed to confirm creatine's effect on brain health. So, as we come down the home stretch, 2 diets that I would recommend evaluating that include the Powerhouse 5 nutrient categories are the Mediterranean and the Mind diet. Now, I talked about both of these in a previous podcast, so check out my 2 podcasts on these diets and then consult with your doctor before starting on the diets to make sure that they're appropriate for your specific needs. Finally, let's briefly touch on some healthy lifestyle habits that can support brain health. Now, my personal favorite, and yours too, I'm sure, is regular exercise. Yes, that's what I said, exercise. Everybody's favorite. So don't struggle and don't fight with it. Just put on your sneakers and go for a walk. That's one of my personal favorites. Now, in terms of stress management, easier said than done, right? Look into meditation and mindfulness for helping to reduce stress. And then finally, our last 2 healthy habits to help support a healthy brain are mental stimulation and social connection. So get working on puzzles, games, trivia, Sudoku, crossword puzzles, computer games, whatever it takes to help you stimulate your brain. Read. All those things are going to help you maintain some of your brain health. And also, you can use social connections as a way to get mental stimulation as well. Get together and have trivia night, or get together and play cards, or other types of board games. And you'll find that not only are you helping to maintain your cognitive health, but you're also having a great time in return. So those are the 5 healthy habits for helping to maintain your brain health. Well, that's all the time we have for this podcast. Now, we discussed a lot of topics from brain structure and function to food as fuel, then the all-important Powerhouse 5 nutrient categories for brain health: the omega-3 fatty acids, DHA and EPA, the B vitamins, B12, B6, and folate, choline. We talked about the antioxidants and healthy fats. We discussed some brain-boosting extras, curcumin and creatine, and suggested evaluating the Mediterranean and the Mind diets as a way to help with brain health, because it's a healthy diet and it'll help also support healthy habits as well. Now, remember, every bite counts, so eat well and empower your brain. Ask your healthcare professional if the Powerhouse 5 should be part of your diet regimen. Now, I'd like to thank you for listening to this podcast. As we close, I would request that you visit liveparkinsons.com and sign up for the free monthly newsletter. There's also a lot of other free resources on there. There's a medication and symptom tracker that you can use to prepare for your doctor visits. There's 9 balance exercises to improve your balance with Parkinson's. And then there's a one-stop shop resource guide that you can sign up to get as well. So those are free resources, in addition to a number of articles that I've written on Parkinson's and living a great quality of life. Again, I thank you for listening to this podcast, and it's been a real pleasure. And I hope you have a spectacular day, and I hope to see you on future podcasts. Thanks again for listening.